Welcome to this edition of Hardcap, Day 2 of 2012 College Championships here in Boulder, Colorado. I'm Bryan Jones, joined by James Leppert, Nick Rogers, and Zack Smith. We saw some exciting action today. Guys, what were the exciting games that you saw? Let's start with James.
In Pool A, first game of the day was Minnesota-Georgia Tech. That was a great game. Georgia Tech was up 6-3 at one point and had a chance to go up 7-3, but they faltered on that point. And when it came down in the second half, Minnesota was able to come back into it because Jay Clark, he wasn't Jay Clark. He wasn't Jay Clark we knew. He was making uncharacteristic turns. It seemed like he was trying to force the disc into the end zone a lot because he wanted the win. I mean, that would be a big win for Georgia Tech if they had won that game. They didn't end up winning that game. Minnesota won on Universe, and Nick Lance was kind of absent from that game, but I think the bigger story is that Jay Clark was not Jay Clark we know.
Looked like Minnesota was able to take the 2 spot out of that pool, and Georgia Tech was relegated to the 3 spot. Nick, what did you see today?
I got to watch a phenomenal game between California Ugmo and the Wisconsin Hodags. It was really physical and explosive, both on offense and defense. The Hodags were playing really shutdown D and made California take a lot of deep shots, and they were able to make plays and keep the game tight. They fell down a little, but managed to work their way back through great defensive plays by both Zaniel Rankin and Andrew Hagan in particular.
Hagan has been a defensive standout all year long, and also a winner of our Sky Playmaker Shorts as well. Standout for California. They were able to take the 3 spot there after beating Central Florida as well. That was a close game. Wisconsin ended up with the 1 in that pool. Zach, what did you see today?
Well, definitely in pool play, I saw a great matchup between Carlton College and Colorado Mama Bird. Colorado really seemed like they were going for broke, trying to beat Carlton and trying to put themselves in good position to take that pool. They turned it into a little bit of Colorado turned it a little bit into a shootout. We saw a lot of great hooks from Jimmy Mickle, and we saw a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes from Carlton's offensive line. Julian Childs-Walker started to shoot deep. Not really what we saw, more of a Grant Lindsley style of play, but not something that we usually see from Julian Childs-Walker. And we saw Jonah Herskew and Justin Norton missing on inside break attempts, and just they weren't really clicking and things weren't really working well. Until the end of the game, they really buckled down and fixed their attitude, and Carlton was able to come out with a win. And then actually kind of backfired for Colorado as they decided to kind of throw their game away against Tufts and accept the 3 seed heading into pre-quarters, where there was some unfortunate. They're unfortunately able to lose to Luther, who was able to take care of the win.
Let's look in the pre-quarters now. We saw Minnesota move on, as well as Luther, Tufts, and UCF. What did you guys see during pre-quarters? James, we'll start with you.
In the Luther-Colorado game, Colorado could not connect on their hooks, Jimmy Mickle specifically, and Luther could. Eric Johnson did, and he was a big difference maker in that game.
Callahan nominee Eric Johnson making all the difference. Nick, what did you see in your pre-quarters matchups?
Well, I really thought that it wasn't clear that Minnesota played better than California. I really think that the observers had a very large point. Minnesota got 3 calls for them upwind, and that really made the difference in the game.
Another North Central team moving on. Zach, what did you see in your pre-quarter?
I saw a really close game between Texas and Tufts, and a game that unfortunately for Texas seemed to turn the tide when the wind started picking up. Tufts actually had the disc pulling downwind at 8-7 in their favor, and they were immediately able to get a downwind break and then rattle off 2 consecutive sets of upwind downwind breaks, and they pulled away from Texas. Texas wasn't able to make up the distance, and Tufts ran away with that game. And unfortunately, we also saw UCF playing Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech was not excited for that matchup at all, being down 2-0 in the season series. UCF was able to go up big before the wind even started blowing hard, and UCF took that game easily going into the quarterfinals.
Looks like wind is playing a factor again for the 2nd straight year here in Boulder. This has been our edition of Day 2 Hardcap here at Sky Magazine. I'm Bryan Jones, here with Nick Rogers, Zack Smith, and James Leppert. Thanks for tuning in.